Recording.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. Do we need to bring up the poems or are we just good to discuss it? Sorry, we should have talked about that earlier.
Um,
Watch the video, like the 3 minutes video, one of the video. Or not.
We can watch it. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Similes and metaphors can usually be confusing. I'm sure you are all just buzzing with questions about when to use each one, and I'm positive your mind is boggled about what the difference between the two is. Mostly, I'm sure you're just wondering how long this will take, but I can assure you that in no time at all, you're going to be total experts on these fascinating figures of speech. Let's first start with a simple definition of simile. Joe Schmo here tells us that a simile is used to compare two unlike things using the phrases like or as. Let's take a closer look at Joe. For a stick figure, he seems like a smart, good-looking guy. But let's do him some real justice and describe how we really see him. We don't want to be boring and just say Joe is strong and smart. That's lame, really lame. Instead, we can use similes to be as descriptive as we want. We can say Joe is like a strong horse. What images pop into your mind when we use that phrase? That's right. We get a more vivid image and idea of the fact that Joe is a buff guy with big muscles. What if Joe has a really big brain and we think he is super intelligent? What can we compare him to? We could say Joe is as smart as an Einstein. This statement obviously lets us know that Joe is a serious smarty pants. Now that you've got similes down pat, let's take it up a notch and move to metaphors. Metaphors are a lot like similes, except that they compare things without using like or as. Also, metaphors make our comparisons more direct. So let's look at Joe and the horse again. Instead of saying he is like a horse, we can say Joe is a horse. What image do we get in our head? No, not a centaur Joe. Instead, we more explicitly understand Joe's strength. We can also interpret this metaphor to mean different things. That Joe is exactly like a horse in his strength, appearance, and appetite. See, more direct. How about another example? Look at Joe again. He's had a long, hard night, and he's a little cranky about having to wake up and go to work. Not to mention, Joe hasn't had his coffee, so he is certainly on edge. What do we think of Joe when we say he is like a zombie in the morning? That's right, we see a tired Joe who is not to be messed with. While Joe is obviously not his usual self, we understand that Joe will eventually perk up with a bit of coffee and be back to his old self. Now, what happens when we turn our simile into a metaphor? How exactly do we do that? That is exactly right. We say Joe is a zombie in the morning. This image of Joe is far more frightening and lets us know in a more direct way that Joe is nowhere near himself. This metaphor gives us the image that we need to run away far and fast in the opposite direction. Make sure you run and don't stop because Crazy Joe will come after you. It's a scary sight to see. So let's do a little recapping. Similes compare two or more things using like or as. A metaphor compares two things without using like or as. Which one offers a more direct comparison? That's right, metaphor. Great job, you rock stars, you. And finally, what do you do when you either see someone like a zombie or someone who is a zombie? Run. Thank you very much for viewing my project on similes and metaphors. I hope you've learned a lot about figurative language and a little something on zombie safety.
All right.
Can go to the first poem. No, I read it. The first paragraph. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers a greatness like the ooze of oil, crushes. Why do men then now not wreck his road? Generations have trod, all, and all is seared with trade beards smeared with toll. And wears man's mug and hair share man's milk, the soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shook.
I'll read the second one. And for all this, nature is never spent. Their lives, the dearest freshness deep down things. And though the last lights of the black west went, oh morning at brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and with our bright wings. All right, what are some similes and metaphors that we can see in this poem, guys?
The second and third line, it says, it will flame out like shining from shook foil. And then it also says it gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil. So those are both similes because they say like.
Mm-hmm.
And then, trying to find a metaphor.
No, let's see what trade.
I didn't share man's smell.
I think the part in this first stanza, paragraph, whatever, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge and shares man's smile. Smile? Smell.
Smell.
The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. I don't know, for some reason I connected it to like a description of a man. Like it's not a man, but like a human, like
Yeah.
of the nothingness of a person. Like that's what I was thinking like the metaphor would be, because metaphors are comparing things without using like or as. So they're comparing a man to being seared with trade, bled, whatever that word is, smeared with toil, smudge and shares man's smile.
And
Yeah.
okay, a follow-up question. How are they important to the poem's message? Like how the use of light, shining, sure. I think it is because it is like describing the flame and greatness, like it will flame out like shining from choke foil. So it is important to understand the message of how the flame came out.
Nice.
I think also like if you shake foil, have you guys shook foil before? Like you just shake it. The light kind of shines differently and like as you move it,
Especially-
the reflection of light.
Especially in the bright sun.
Yeah.
Sunlight.
So that's kind of like when a flame goes out, like it's kind of like when the foil is being shaken, like the light reflection is changing and eventually goes out. Not goes out, but
If
don't
it's directed like a light to the foil, like
Yeah.
a foil seeing a light, it is shining, spreading the light. Okay, any more? Let's go to another poem.
No, I think that's good.
Okay,
we'll
let's
do
do
this one.
Okay. Are we
Wait,
gonna
are we
read
doing the second
neutral
one?
tones?
Yeah, we're doing the second one now.
Okay.
Okay, I can read. Is this neutral tones? Which one is this? Oh, Fernhill. Okay. Okay. Now, as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house, and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingle starry, time let me hail and climb, golden in the heydays of his eyes, and honored among wagons. I was prince of the apple towns, and once below a time I lordly had the trees and leaves trail with daisies and barley down the rivers of a windfall light. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns about the happy yard, and singing as the farm was home, in the sun that is young only, or once only, time let me play and be golden in the mercy of his means. And green and golden I was huntsman and herdsman. The calves sang to my horn, the foxes on the hills barked clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams. All the sun long it was running, it was lovely. The hay fields as high as the house, the tunes from the chimneys, it was air, and playing lovely and watery, and fire green as grass, and nightly under the simple stars, as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among stables, the night jars flying with the ricks and the horses flashing into the dark.
I can read the next ones.
Okay.
And then to awake in the farm like a wanderer white, with the dew come back, the cock on his shoulder. It was all shining. It was Adam and Maiden. The sky gathered again, and the sun grew round that very day. So it must have been after the birth of simple light, in the first spinning place, the spellbound horses walking warm out of the whining green stable onto the fields of praise, and honored among foxes and pheasants by the gay house under the new made clouds, and happy as the heart was long. In the sun born over and over, I ran my head heedless ways. My wishes raced through the house, high hay, and nothing I cared, and my sky blue trades that time allows. In all his tuneful turning, so few and such morning songs, before the children green and golden follow him out of grace. Nothing I cared in the lamb white days, that time would take me up to the swallow throng loft by the shadow of my hand, in the moon that is always rising, nor that riding to sleep I should hear him fly with high fields, and wake to the farm forever fled from the childless land. Oh, as I was young and easy in the mercy of his means, time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea.
Okay, so
Long poem.
Long.
there's a lot of similes here describing this. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barn. And
The beginning too of the poem. Now as I was
yeah.
young, easy,
as the young and easy other,
both.
as the grass was green, as the grass was green.
Happy as the grass was green.
Mhm.
Whoa.
On the language.
Also, in the second
Lead.
stanza, it says
I love
about the happy yard, and like that's kind of like a metaphor because yards like can't actually be happy. It's just like comparing it to that.
Yeah. About the happy yard singing as the farm was home. It's a simile again.
Hmm.
Also, the sun being young once only.
Right. Yeah, the sun is young.
Time to let me play and be.
Herdsman.
Talking as if it's people,
Yeah.
person. Oh, so it was lovely that he. Fire green as grass. Fire is not green as grass. Nah.
Into my horn. The focus on the back play and go.
And then to awaken the farm like a wanderer. Why would the tree come back?
The Sabbath rang slowly.
Now the end of the simple stars as I went to sleep.
Habit of the Holy Spirit.
So how does making those comparison contribute to the poem's tone and message about the issue, the theme it addressed?
I think it gives like it paints a picture in your mind of like what like his farm life is like
Yeah.
what it means to him, and like what the sun, like what all the aspects of the farm like meant to him. The sun, the fire, hay,
Yeah.
animals, like the grass. It just seems like he's talking about how simple the life is or was for him
Life.
in the farm that he either grew up in or is familiar with.
Yeah. And it kind of like sets the tone for the poem too, because like I feel like a lot of his like similes and metaphors are like happy and like child like kind of like nostalgia kind of. Like he could have compared those things to like he could have like focused on like the negative things about the farm, but he like focused on like how it was just like freeing and fun and yeah.
I feel like
True.
even for negative things in the farm, he kind of made it seem like it was a good thing. Like made
Yeah.
it look good.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's also part of describing how she wants her experience on in the poem, like how to be like elaborated or how it was being described to the person who's reading. So I think the writer is he wants like it is a boy like he wants just to describe what his feeling about the farm, the feeling of being on the field with all the things that he was seeing. So that is important how you describe those things.
Yeah.
Like it was saying in us a trail and daisies, barley down the rivers and windfall light, and as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns. Like it needed to use that as.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, should we move on to the last one?
Yes.
Chloe says she wanna read it.
Sure. We stood by a pond that winter day, and the sun was white, as though chidden of God. Chidden?
Chill.
And a few leaves lay on the starving sod. They had fallen from an ash and were gray. Your eyes on me were as eyes that rove over tedious riddles of years ago, and some words played between us to find and fro, on which lost the more by our love. The smile on your mouth was the deadest thing alive enough to have strength to die, and a grind of bitterness swept thereby, like an ominous bird a wing. Since then, keen lessons that love deceives, and right rings with wrong have shaped to me your face and the God-cursed sun, and a tree, and a pond edged with grayish leaves.
Oh.
Stood by a pond that winter day, as though children of God. Is a simile.
The sun was white as the children of God. What does children mean?
No.
You missed
I'm
an
guessing
L.
like made from God or something.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
Children. Oh, it
The
says
sun
to
is
scold. It
Okay.
means to rebuke someone.
It means what?
To rebuke someone. Like
Oh,
chastise someone.
as though children of God.
The sun was white as though being scolded by of God. Okay.
Nice.
I didn't know that. No jokes.
2 leaves lay on a starving sword. Is it a metaphor?
And if you see you say no.
Starving sword.
A starving sod? Yeah, maybe because leaves don't starve. Oh, they do, and they die.
Your mouth was the deadest.
I've fallen from an ash and were grey. Stood by a pond that winter day. The sun
I
was
think
so
I think the metaphor here is the smile on your mouth was the deadliest thing. One of the metaphor.
yeah.
Right. It is straightforward.
Alive enough to have strength to that.
Mm.
And like
Okay.
the eyes, your eyes on me were as eyes that rove. Rove means to roam or wander over tedious riddles of years ago. Wow. Some words played between us to and fro, on which lost them more by our love.
Your eyes on me was
They have like a. Is there like
Like an ominous bird
a contention between
a wing.
whoever this person is speaking to, whoever the writer's talking to?
Mm.
Also, I think what's the other one? The bitterness one. Where is it? And
The
a
bitter-
grin of bitterness swept thereby like a ominous bird a wing. What's ominous?
Yeah.
I think that's a simile.
Mhm.
Since then, King
Giving
listened.
the worrying impression that something bad is going to happen. Okay, all right.
like
Yeah.
an
A grin of bitterness swept thereby. Oh, like a smirk, like
something's
Like
gonna
a
happen.
an
bird
ominous bird a wing.
Wow.
Thinking lessons that love deceives and rings of wrong have shaped to me your face and a god cursed sun.
Outside
And a
and a
tree and a pond edge were grayish leaves. It's like it starts with the pond thing and then it ends with the pond thing. I don't know if we're meant to discuss, but anyways. He starts and ends with like the same thing.
We stood by a pond that winter day.
It seems like there's a lot of bitterness in this poem, whoever the writer's talking to.
Yeah.
Lessons that love deceives. Yeah, definitely some bitterness. But similes and metaphors, I feel like we already pointed them out in these poems. Was there
Yeah.
any questions that we missed out?
I think we got all them. Like you said, like I think in that last one, I think like the similes were kind of like bitter or like negative kind of.
Tone was very bitter towards whoever the writer was talking to.
Yeah. I think that's it.
We're done.
Perfect.
Yay.
Okay, Florence.
Okay, I'm gonna just stop it now.